All right, let's take a look at chapter 18. There's a lot of little sections here, so there's going to be a lot of short-ish videos where I go over the various points. I don't think I need to write anything out here. We're just going to go over what Duff says. So section 18.1 introduces dunamai, kathemai, kemai, and oida. Duff explains why the stems and the endings are the way they are. Honestly, when I learned them, I was just told they're a little bit different. Learn them. It's not a very difficult group of paradigms to learn. I don't remember learning kemai as a separate verb. It's not as frequent as the others. And I would say dunamai and oida are the most frequent of these four verbs. They actually come up pretty often in the New Testament, and kathemai comes up regularly as well. Um, so let's just look at the forms. In the present tense, we have dunamai, dunasai, dunatai, dunamitha, dunaste, dunantai. We have kathemai, kathesai, kathetai, kathemetha, katheste, kathentai, and kemai, kesai, ketai, kemetha, keste, kentai. In the imperfect, we have edunamen, edunaso, edunato, edunamitha, edunaste, edunanto, and ekathemen, ekatheso, ekatheto, ekathemitha, ekathesthe, ekathento, and then ekemen, ekeso, eketo, ekemetha, ekeste, ekento. For the infinitives for the three verbs, we have dunastai, kathestai, and kestai. And the participles are dunamenos, kathemenos, and kemenos. They're deponents, so you don't have to worry about any other forms for these verbs. Oida is a little bit different. Here's the how we conjugate oida in the present tense. It's oida, oidas, oiden, oidamen, oidate, oidasin. And in the imperfect, it's edain, edes, ede, edamen, edete, edesan. The infinitive is a deny, and the participle is a dos. A dos, you see, is declined like lelukos. So the feminine nominative singular is eduia, and the neuter nominative singular is eidos, and the stem is eidot. Now, it's important to notice the difference between oida and eidon. The eidon is the second aorist of horao. So the second aorist of horao is eidon. The infinitive is edain, and the participle is idon. But for I know, for oida, the indicative in the imperfect is edain, the infinitive is edenai, and the participle is eidos. The footnote tells you that they are in fact related, that they're related in English as well. When you're explaining something to me and I understand, I might say, I see. So there is a relationship between knowing and seeing. That's a metaphor that we tend to use frequently for understanding. However, it's important to know the difference. So let's go through the examples. We have James 2:14. Me dunatai he pistis sosai auton. So notice the he pistis, that's the subject, faith. And dunatai is third person singular, present tense. So faith is not able. Sosai is the infinitive of sodzo. So faith is not able to save. And auton, we have the direct object of sosai, to save him. Notice the question mark at the end and the me at the beginning. So we translate the whole thing as faith is not able to save him, is it? Acts 2:34, e pen ho kurios to kurio mu, kathu ek dexion mu. So in that first part, we have ho kurios is the subject and a pen is the aorist of lego. So the Lord said, and then to kurio mu, my Lord, and it's in the dative. So the Lord said to my Lord, and kathu is the imperative of kathemai. So sit And instead of, we might think some other preposition might be used, but here we have ek. So instead of translating, the Greek idea has this from. You're sitting kind of, I don't know, from my right side, but we don't say that in English. Preposition usages are really different in various languages. Um, there's a When you translate French and English, uh, there's a difference between, it sounds like you're walking in the middle of the street if you translate it word for word from French into English. Just different languages use different prepositions. So ek, dexion mu, is on my right. And we saw in when we learned that, or maybe it's this chapter that we learned that as vocabulary, that the word for right is also the word used for someone's right hand. It's the same word. It's just a shorthand way of referring to your right hand. You just say my right, and that's what it means. So, kathu ek dexion mu, sit at my right. Matthew 28:6, uk estin hode egerthe gar kathos e pen deute idete ton topon hopu eketo. So the first three words, uk estin hode. Hode means here. And so estin is the verb and the subject rolled into one. So he is here, but with the uk, it becomes he is not here. Gar is post positive, so we stick that on next, for. And then egerthe is the aorist passive, so he has been raised. And then kathos e pen, just as he said. Deute is come, and idete is see, both imperatives. So come see, ton topon, the place, and then hopu eketo, where. And here we have the imperfect of eketo, where he lay, where he was lying, something like that. Revelation 4:2 is eutheos, egenomen, en pneumati, kai idou thronos, eketo, en to urano, kai epiton thronon kathemenos. So eutheos, immediately, and egenomen, I came, I became, I happened, I just simply I was often. I was, and then a en pneumati, in the spirit, kai idu, and behold, thronos, a throne. And here we have a keto. Again, we have the imperfect tense. Now, for some reason, Duff left off the word was. I wouldn't do that. I would include the word was. A throne was lying. And then ento urano, in heaven. Kai epiton thronon kathemenos. We have a nominative participle here, and we have the kai that separates it from that separates these last four words from the previous phrase. And so we need to look at those four words sort of on their own. So kathemenos, we might translate as one who is sitting. It's a present participle, and then on the throne. So we might add an amy verb here to make sense of this. There was one sitting on the throne, something like that. 3 John 12, kai hemes de martyrumen kai oidas hoti he martyria hemon alethes estin. Again, Duff, for some reason, hasn't translated the de and the kai. He translated the kai as also, which makes sense, especially when you have both of those, a kai and a de. But I wouldn't not translate a de, especially when we're working through Greek 3. If you were working on a translation committee, you might make that decision. But in Greek 3, we want to try to translate all the words if we can. And so I would say, and we also testify, and we ourselves also testify. Um, and then kai oidas, and you know. Hoti he martyria hemon alethes estin, that, and then our testimony, he martyria hemon, And then the estin is the verb, and then alethes is the predicate adjective. Our testimony is true. 2 Corinthians 4:14, eidotes hoti ho egeras ton kurion Iesun, kai hemas sun Iesu egere. Eidotes is a present participle, so that would be knowing that. The hoti is that. And then here we have egeras used as an aorist participle, but it has an article in front of it. So the one who raised, the one who did the raising, the one who raised. And then we have the direct object of the participle, the Lord Jesus. And then egere is the future of egero, will also raise us, hemas, sun Yesu, with Jesus. So let's parse these verbs in 18:1. Dunatai is the indicative present and its deponent, so we don't need to worry about voice for these. Third person singular. Kathemenois is a participle. It's a present tense participle. Again, deponent, so we don't have to worry about that. And it's masculine dative plural. Dunasthai is, you might recognize immediately the infinitive form, and that's just the infinitive, so we're not going to worry about anything else for that. Eketo is the imperfect, so indicative imperfect, again, deponent, and it's third person singular. Oidate is the present tense, and it's second person plural. Yep, that's all we have to worry about. And then a Dane. The ain here is a little confusing because you might immediately think of an infinitive. At least that's what I did. But here, this is the imperfect form, first singular. And then here we have two forms in 7 and 8 of the verb horao, just so we can see the difference. Edain is the infinitive of horao, and idon is the participle of horao. And then so that we can compare, we have eidos, which is the participle of oida. So that's it for section 18.1. Thanks for listening.